You know, I always found it odd when an art director would call me in and they'd say, please bring your commercial work as well as your personal stuff. Unlike a lot of photographers, I never made that separation, and I'm going to explain why that was a smart move. The simplest explanation would be that if you make that distinction in your work right off the bat, you're expecting the person who's looking at your portfolio to remember two people instead of one. That makes sense. You're the one that just brought in two portfolios. Should he think of you as the personal photographer or as the commercial photographer? If he gives you an assignment, should he have to tell you to shoot his job like the way you did in commercial stuff? Or should he have to tell you do it like your personal work? Why confuse him? Wouldn't it be better if right from the get-go you put your energy into creating commercial images that had your personal stamp on them? Of course it would be. And that's why establishing an identifiable look should always be part of your everyday to-do list. In retrospect, when I look at my earliest portfolios and the promotional pieces I was sending out, maybe I was jumping the gun a bit, expecting an art director to trust an inexperienced photographer with his precious assignment. But I was so preoccupied with establishing a look so I could separate myself from the competition. I wasn't really conscious of the fact that my work was a little bit too far out. All I wanted to do was shoot stuff my way. Now, the downside of doing this is that you're going to be eliminating yourself from getting a lot of what's called bread and butter work. Those are the kind of jobs that don't pay a lot, but they're quick and simple, and they help you maintain a studio and pay your bills. On the positive side, when the higher paying, more prestigious assignments come along, you'll be getting called in to add your personal style to the shoot. It all goes back to a simple rule that I would assume could be applied to just about any business, and that's you should always strive to be that person who adds something to a project. It stands to reason that if you're not that person who's adding something above and beyond what the average person can do, then there's no reason to pay you more than the average person. Now, as you start to get more experience under your belt, hopefully you'll be building your library of images to the point that you'll have a vast array of samples to choose from. This will allow you to fine-tune your portfolio for every presentation, tailoring it to that particular client. It's all about establishing a comfort level with the agency client so that they're totally confident you're not going to screw up their project. Granted, it takes a long time to get to this point, but that's why shooting constantly is very important. And even more importantly, you must not be afraid to always keep refining your portfolio as you get better and better. Out with the old, in with the new. You never want your presentation to look dated. It also goes without saying that since your portfolios are your calling card, you should spare no expense when it comes to making them outstanding. The competition is brutal. You have to be better than everyone else out there. Get used to it. That's just how it is. In addition, your portfolio should be meticulously maintained so that you establish yourself as fanatical when it comes to the smallest detail. Believe it or not, I had an assistant looking to work for me one time, and he came in with a portfolio that looked like he was eating fried chicken when he put the prints in the book. Let me assure you, dirt, dust, and greasy thumbprints on your work does not impress anybody. It's not going to help your reputation. When the creative people at an agency look at your images, they should be able to envision the connection between the clients they represent and the way you would bring the projects to life. It also pays to approach a client with very targeted samples, shot specifically for their presentation. If you enjoy photographing guitars and you plan on trying to get a guitar account, then you should take the time to photograph some guitars. Sometimes the smartest thing to do is go directly to a company, bypassing the agency altogether. The logic behind this would be that if you make the right connection at a company, they're going to tell their agency about this incredible photographer they discovered and they want them to use you. You must, however, never approach an agency and then contact their clients. It does not work in reverse. That is very unethical. Remember, too, that not every presentation you do is going to be a home run. In fact, you'll find some just won't go good at all. In fact, you might go through a period where it seems no one has any interest in your work, but you've got to stick to it and keep your nose to the grindstone. There's no way for you to predict what kind of mood your prospect is going to be in when you walk in the door. For all you know, 5 minutes before you got there, he got fired and he's just finishing out the day. Don't worry about that. Remember, showing your portfolio should be as if your life depended on it. Even if it's not an in-person meeting, but rather a drop-off or a situation where you mailed your book across the country, you want to be remembered. You want people talking about your work long after your portfolio is in front of them. And the best way to make that happen is by making your portfolio a personal interpretation of your commercial abilities. And by the way, if you're thinking, George, people don't do one-on-one meetings anymore. Everything is done on the internet. One-on-one meetings just are old-fashioned. Well, I would encourage you to watch my video on standing out from the crowd and doing the opposite of what all the other sheep are doing. So forget all that nonsense you've heard about a commercial collection and then a secret stash of your most cherished inner self personal experiments. Blend the two together, and you'll find that after a while, people will really start to appreciate your vision. There are so many people trying to be professional photographers that your only chance of succeeding is to stand out above the competition. If you constantly refine your work and establish an identifiable look, it will definitely pay off in the long run with the kind of assignments that everyone else wishes they had. You want people to be envious of you and your pictures. That's how it works.